Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Good afternoon, Lagos, and welcome to our seminar from the Right Fit Marriage Academy, the second session of the day. I hope you, oh, my video is off. Okay, sorry, yes. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Lagos, and everyone from wherever you are, all over the world and all over the nation. And welcome to the second session, the afternoon session of the Right Fit Marriage Academy 5th anniversary celebrations. We had a wonderful time during the morning session. I don't know if you joined in, but if you didn't, you sure did miss a lot, but we're going to go into the second session, and it's about marriage education, a way to marital bliss. I would allow my co-host, Francis Emariabe, to take over from here and give us the opening prayer. Francis, please go ahead. Okay, Francis isn't here yet or isn't online. May I introduce myself to you first? Okay, Francis, yes, we can. Go ahead.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone. I trust you enjoyed the first session. The live for the second session is going to be awesome. First and foremost, we're praying. Father, we bless your name. We appreciate you for this privilege to be alive, to witness this great event in the name of Jesus. We pray that every participant will come into full understanding and revelation of what marriage ought to be, how it ought to be done. And we pray for our various guest speakers that they speak forth wisdom and clarity to our minds in Jesus. Thank you, Lord, for this is the successor. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.
We can hear you. Go on. Amen.
Okay. So you're welcome to the 5th anniversary of the Right Fit Marriage Academy, a platform where marriage education is paramountly taught and where people get to understand what marriage really is. In this day and age where you hear people counseling, this counsel generation, as it were, people don't have the dexterity, they don't have the patience, the commitment, and the understanding of how marriage really works. But here in the Right Fit Marriage Academy, we are taught and we are growing every day to that understanding. So today we'll be having the privilege of hosting various persons. And before that, we want to welcome Mommy Mo to just say a word for us, to us, as we commence this session. So
okay.
just welcome Mommy Mo to the stage right now for her to just say some few words to us as we commence.
Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to the Right Fit Marriage Academy's anniversary seminar. The Right Fit Marriage Academy is an organization that started 5 years ago, and the idea was just to create a community that would, as it were, replicate real life. You know, yes, we do marriage seminars, yes, we do trainings, yes, we do courses, but the way that marriage is best learned is just to be in a community with other people and interact, learn how to live with one another, and then understand how to do things better. And that's what the Right Fit Marriage Academy has been doing for 5 years. It was a dream in my mind, and I'm so excited that after 5 years, the impact that I expected that we will have is what we have experienced. And the purpose of this seminar for us is to then ring the bell and let other people know that marriage education is something that will be done on a continual basis. Anybody who wants to enjoy marriage, anybody who wants to enjoy life, right from when they were born is when they get to start learning. And today we have some awesome guests. When we were looking at the people that were going to be our guests in this events, both the single sessions and the married couple session, the idea was to take people who have been married, but people who actually embody the concept of marriage education. So people who intentionally, even before they got married, gave thought to marriage, wondered what it was going to be about, and since they have been married, they have not stopped learning about marriage. I'm not going to say so much more. I'm just going to give the time to the guests that we have today as they're introduced. And when they share their lives with us, you will see that they truly are an embodiment of marriage education, and you will understand why we brought them here. Thank you very much for taking time to join us this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Mommy Mo, for that brief introduction into the activities of the Right Fit Marriage Academy. We're very grateful to have such a community where people can talk about their experiences and also share experiences to ensure that marriage is not the saw that society seems to make it out. Now, without much ado, we'll be going to our speakers, and we have the first speaker is Mr. Dayo Adebayo. I'll just read a short profile of him, and then he can go straight onto his topic. Now, Mr. Dayo Adebayo is a barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, and is the managing partner of Adebayo and Adebayo Legal Practitioners. He is the Dean of the School of Parenting at the Daystar Christian Center and the head at Parenting Matters, an NGO to raise awareness for positive parenting, a director in numerous corporate organizations and non-profits. Mr. Adebayo is married to BC Adebayo, his sweetheart, for about 28 years, and together they have 4 lovely children, 3 lovely adults, and a blooming teenager, all collectively known as the Fantastic Four. So without much ado, I would invite Mr. Dayo Adebayo to give us his talk on marital commitment and a way to bliss in marriage. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah. Yeah, that was a generous introduction. Well, I first like to congratulate the Right Fit Marriage Academy, heavily led by Mommy Mo herself, on the organization's 5th anniversary. And I also appreciate this honor done to me to speak at this event. The topic, marriage education, a way to marital bliss. The main focus of marriage education is to help couples identify strengths to build on with skills that support a safer, stronger, and healthier marriage. So basically, marriage education is to help couples imbibe habits, knowledge that will make marriage safer, stronger, and healthier. And if there's a time we need marriage education, then these are the times. There's no better time than this. It's the only institution that I know that you obtain your certificate before you start the experience. So marriage itself, it's quite unique. But one thing is that marriage education is not new at all. It's not a new concept. It's not a new phenomenon. No, we've had it and it's been embedded in our culture one way or the other. In fact, almost all cultures have a form of marriage education or not. You can see it in their cultural practices. It can be in their traditional practices. So marriage education is as whole as the marriage institution itself. It could be formal. It could be, informal. No, the informal one is the one you have. I mean, when your parents are teaching you, especially mothers, and they will tell you, oh, you have to learn to do this. You have to learn to cook this way so that your husband can enjoy you. I mean, everything is geared towards the husband. And I had a friend who told me one of the things she didn't like about her mom was the fact that she's always saying, so that my husband. So is there anything for me in marriage? It's all about the man. So, but we have the formal one. I mean, if you are very conversant with our culture, we have some form of the formal education in the ethnic culture, for instance, where you have the fattening room, where they prepare the women, for marriage. And the Uran ethnic group of Southern Nigeria also have something similar for young male and female. But what is very prevalent in all these cultures is that the education is tailored, towards the woman. Nobody really thinks of giving the man, marriage education. So the man is considered as the king that can do no wrong. And that is a recipe for disaster. And even today, you find many women getting educated, talking to counselors, talking to marriage educators, but then the men are not there. They think that they don't need it, which is very wrong. Okay? So most couples will contract marriage from what I will call a default mode. You do marriage based on your experiences, based on other people's experiences, based on your family background, based on your social background, based on your economic background, based on the influence of social media, based on the literature you read, based on tales, of people. So everybody does marriage from the point of information you receive while growing up. And that is what I call the default mode. So there's no deliberate, training to sift the shaft from the wheat. So you just get everything and you take all those experiences, both negative and positive, you take them into the marriage. And like I used to tell my colleagues at work, I said, no driver can travel far using the rear mirror. So if you are using the rear mirror and you are driving, you are likely to crash. And that is why we find a lot of marriages crashing, because we are always looking at past experiences. We are always looking at history. We are always looking at, failed marriages. To go forward, we have to develop another strategy. And that strategy is embedded in getting education. So to build a successful marriage, we need to learn, we need to unlearn, then we need to relearn. So it's a continuous process. So we cannot outgrow knowledge when it comes to marriage. In fact, the Yorubas have a saying, I will try to interpret it literally. They say, Ile eko, that is the marriage, it's an institution itself where you learn. So it is a continuous learning for each and every one of us. So, but I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience in marriage. It's not so long I've been there. November 20 will be, my wife and I will be married for about 28 years. So I know there are people here who are seniors. Bishop Oyedepo made a statement very famous. He said, life is in phases and men are in sizes. What has worked for us in our marriage, is because we are able to understand the phases of marriage. We anticipate these phases, we live out these phases without denial. So my talk is just going to be on these phases of marriage, because like they say, proper preparation prevents poor performance. If you know these phases of marriage, you will be able to prepare for each phase of this marriage, and you'll be able to make a success of the phase. But let me quickly say that there's no timeline to these phases. You only graduate when you pass one phase. So don't ask me between what age should we be in this age? I mean, in this stage or in this phase. No, there's no timeline to it. So you can be holding marriage and you are still in stage one. You can be, so marriage is all about maturity of the couples and the understanding. That's the success of it. So I'm going to talk about these 5 phases. And the first one I want to talk about, okay, let me list all the 5. Then I try to explain, from my own understanding of these phases. These phases are coined by me, so you might decide to coin your own phase. But, these phases, if you've been in marriage long enough, you understand that you will experience one of these phases or the other, if not all. So we have the romance phase. We have the sizing up phase. So the first one is the romance phase. The second one is the sizing up phase. The third one is the reasoning together phase. The fourth one is the consolidation phase. And the fifth is the reinvention phase. Now, the romance phase. At this phase, all you see is love. You are deeply in love with your spouse. There's nothing wrong about that. Your spouse at this stage can do no wrong. You both have your heads in the cloud. Love is blind. So your eyes, will not just see the wrong in the other person. So it's very romantic. Some people call it the honeymoon phase. You are very excited, marrying each other. So BC and I, anyway, if I mention BC, then I'm talking about my wife. So we had an honeymoon phase where we got married. It was super. I'd always wanted to be with her. In fact, we married when we were quite young. We met in the university. And in our second year in the university, we were in the same class. So we went to law school together. So before marriage, we've been together, for about 6 or 7 years. So all that was in my mind after law school, was just to get, wedded to her, and the same thing for her. So, so we could just enjoy this romance, and we enjoyed it, no doubt about that. We are still in love, but at that time, we do not let go of each other. So that's a phase. Then you enter what we call the shock phase. Two people from 2 different backgrounds are coming together. Temperaments differ, and it's at this shock phase, and you are living together 24/7. And it's at this phase, you begin to see some unpleasant things, quote and unquote, about your spouse. You begin to experience, some upsetting and surprising attitude being displayed by your spouse. You see, the emotional connection and sometimes the physical attractions begin to wane. You notice differences between your temperaments and styles, and then you ask yourself, have I made a mistake? My pastor gave an example. It could be so many things, as easy as, he gave an example of a couple that when they want to press the toothpaste, because the wife is from an affluent background, she wants to press the toothpaste from the middle, the tube. And the husband came from a struggling background, poor background, to put it in, a better form. He wants to press the toothpaste from the base. That's what he's used to, and that will always create quarrel, between them. So you will find that there are reasons to quarrel. And I remember one time I was listening to the general overseer of the Redeemed Church of God, and he was saying one daughter of ours. When the GO says one daughter, it's not the biological daughter, alone. So I said, she brought a guy to him, and he said, "Daddy, I love him." So they're still trying to counsel her. Why don't you have patience and let's, for some time, have patience and try this courtship for some time before you get married, because she wanted to go into the marriage, as quickly as possible. And she said, no, Daddy, I love him. So I said, he didn't see her again until some years later, probably about 2 years after marriage. And he said, "Oh, my daughter, how is your husband?" And she said, "Daddy, I hate him." So that is the thing. So many people don't transit this phase. And you see so many marriages collapse, at this phase. So going back to BC and I, despite the fact that we've known each other, we've been friends for about 6-7 years, like I said earlier, we began to discover some differences. BC is extroverted. She's a talker. She derives joy from talking. She has a strong personality. She's very friendly, so she has so many friends. BC is an incurable giver. Me, Dayo, I'm introverted. I'm a thinker. I'm diplomatic. I'm a planner, and I have few friends. So you can see the differences: extroverted to introverted, talker to thinker, strong personality to a diplomatic person. Somebody who is very friendly, then somebody who can do without so many friends. So we can see all these areas of conflict. So at this period, we were dwelling, on the negatives. I wanted BC to become who I am, and BC wanted me to become who she is. So we never saw the strength, in our personality. And that created a lot of friction. So we will argue, and when two lawyers argue, you know what it will be. So who is right, who is wrong? And that conversation will go on, even into the night, So BC will now say, "Okay, I leave you, to yourself." And when she leaves me to myself, of course, I enjoy it because I like to be alone, But we saw that, if we don't shake off this phase very quickly, we're heading for trouble. So we had to do a conference by ourselves, and that is going to take me to the third phase, which is the reasoning together phase, So when you've passed the shock phase, you should be ready to embrace the reasoning together phase. Isaiah 1:18 says, "Come now." That's God telling us, say, "Let us reason together." So you should not be too proud to call your spouse. "Look, you know what? Come to the table. Let's reason together." So it's time to forgive odds, and it's time to forget all the odds. It's time to see your spouse, through, the lens of forgiveness. Amos 3:3 says, "Can two walk together unless they agreed?" It's time to set family vision. If not done that before now, it's time to sit down and to look for you to discuss what are the things that matter to you as a person. Then the two of you will look at the things that matter to you. That's the time you engage in very honest conversation, about yourself, about your family. If spouses don't have a vision, then there's going to be division, which is division. That means the two of them will be running two races when you should run one. And if you go far into this, you begin to waste energy, dissipated energy, and you begin to waste resources. So after what I will call the World War, BC and I had, our conversation, which is the foundation upon which our home is built today. So we had conversations about communication, about dispute resolution. When we have dispute, how do we resolve it? About managing finances, about our personal development, about our children, their welfare, their choice of schools, about our career, about our businesses, about our faith, about charity, and so on. So it gave us the opportunity to set out our family goals and plans. So we crafted 5-year plan, we had the 10-year plan, we have the 15-year plan, we have the 20-year plan. Of course, we amend it from time to time, So, and it is when we had this conversation that I knew that BC had a passion, to work in a 5-star organization. She wanted to work in a corporation, And again, one of the things we agreed was that we're going to, train our children the best possible way we can, and give them, make them better than we are, so to say. So now, BC wants to work from the home because working in a big organization means she has to work, outside the home on the island. So because we've had this conversation, I knew that I had, to be a, if you want to say it for want of words, appropriate words, a sit-at-home dad. So I operated my office from the back of the house for 10 years. Those are the formative years for our children, So if I said, this should wait at home and do that, take care of the children, I know she wouldn't have been happy. So I decided, to take that upon myself. And I can tell you that we are better for it today. So we had our plans. We talked about, the time, through the help of God, we want to build our first home, how we want to go for holidays, where we want to go for holidays, the quality of life that we wanted. So we discussed all that, and that discussion, like I said, is ongoing, but we know, where we are going at each time. We understand the family vision. We understand, how to deploy resources because we are working together. We understand, where to spend our energy. We understand our discipline styles, how to correct the children, because again, now we are working as a team. No more division. We are working towards one goal. And that helped us a lot, helped us in, because we run businesses together. So we don't have friction, working in the same office. We don't have friction with our finances because it's already arranged. Okay, what if we get the next 10 million today, we know where it's going to, So couples should have that very honest conversation, So we need to be conscious and deliberate, about, having that conversation, and we need to be very honest with it. So from that stage, the next stage is the consolidation phase, and it's at this stage, if you've done the previous one very well, if you've had a good time reasoning together, then the consolidation phase, you should be cruising. Your marriage should be at the cruising level, because at this time, there's less pressure, on your resources. Your nest is either empty or almost empty. If you are lucky, you will have seen your children through school. If you are not, then probably you still have one or two remaining who are in school. So it's a phase that, the couple should take more interest in their health. And they should do regular checkups, at this consolidation phase. Don't ask me the phase I am right now, but I know I'm in between the third and fourth. So what I did when I crossed 50, went on 51, I knew I had to rejig, my health, and I have to help BC to do same for herself. So I bought a bicycle, a road bicycle, and I started riding. In fact, my son bought his own first. My son, the first one is 27, so he bought a bicycle, and that gave me an idea. So I bought my own bicycle too. So I started riding all within the estate, and I found out that my heart rate was doing better. My physique was a lot better. And I also encourage my wife, because if I don't walk, she won't take her walk. So I have to encourage her for us to, do all this morning walk. So we do the regular checkups together, we do the health check together, because again, you need your health to fulfill your destiny. So I told her, look, I want us to be healthy together. I want us to live long together so that we can enjoy, continue to enjoy marriage. Either if rapture comes before rapture, or when we go to be with the Lord in our good old ages. So at this consolidation stage, again, you should not take yourself for granted. Because when people escape, when they transit the reasoning together phase, and they get to the consolidation stage, we've had instances of couples, taking themselves for granted, and let me tell you that no matter how old a man is, and the same thing for a woman, some people are still attracted to you, because at that time, for the man, you are wealthy, you are what they now call aristo, and the women, they are all there looking around, just waiting for you, making all the signs. So if the woman is not, if the woman is taking the man for granted at this stage, the man might be distracted. And the same thing for the man. The woman too, she's having some people winking at her one way or the other. So again, all we're saying is don't take each other for granted, even at this stage. Be in regular communication, be deliberate about your romance life, take local and international holidays. I remember one of the trips we took was to Ghana. And that trip, together as a couple, was just fantastic for us, because we had the opportunity of unbundling. We had the opportunity of recasting the vision. Again, we had the opportunity of having, again, honest conversation. So sometimes you just have to leave your immediate environment, take your spouse and get out, and have a holiday. So you have to take stock of your investments at this point in time. If you feel that your investment are such that will not give you a happy retirement, this is the time to begin to say, okay, do I want to start new businesses? Do I want to take on new jobs? Do I want to change jobs? Because you should look towards making yourself comfortable in your old age. And if you are single, then I will advise that you build a support system around yourself. You join a community, you have a network of friends, who you can talk to, who you can visit, who you can have sleepovers in their house, so that when you get to retirement, you have people, around you, and you are also around people. So it's at this stage again, that I always advise people the consolidation phase to have what I call the legacy projects. What do you want to be remembered for? You don't want to be like Solomon Grande, who was born on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, had all the activities and died, without leaving, any impact, on his world, on his environment. What do you want to be known for? So begin to do legacy projects. I am very passionate about parenting, and I've been doing a lot of work, in that area. So my wife is very passionate about grooming young women, and I mean, she's recorded, tremendous success in that area. So what are you passionate about? What do you want to do? What legacy do you want to leave? If you are gone, what is that one thing that people want to say about you? So you should think about that, legacy project. Every one of us should have that legacy project. And the final phase is the reinvention phase. Again, we want a new you to come out. This is the time, that you engage in processes and you take actions that will make a new you to evolve. You will remember that the nest at this stage is empty. Your expenditure is more manageable. So you will have to spoil yourself, spoil your wife, spoil your husband. You have to fall in love again, like you started at the romance stage. So you have to want to, if you can afford it, you should just see the world, go everywhere. You have to reinforce your faith at this stage. Then you have to be good mentors to your children. You have to engage your grandchildren, even at this phase. Well, understanding all these phases, like I said earlier, will help you, to appreciate where you are in the journey of your marriage. And more than that, in the journey of life. You plan for it. I've seen people, that think life just happened. Life will not just happen. A good marriage will not just drop, on your laps. You have to work it out. And that is the essence for marriage education. But with these stages I've just explained, you have the insight of knowing where you are, where you've passed, and where you are going to. And I pray that God will help each and every one of us in Jesus' name. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Adebayo. I must say to all the listeners that I've known Dayo and BC for over 27 years now, and I can say that what he says is what he practices. They're good friends of mine, and I can say all he said is the truth. Now, just a short recap of all what you said. Wonderful things that, some of us might know, but we were just bringing it back to our remembrance. But the first thing that struck me in what you said was that we've had all sorts of informal and formal trainings in marriage. The unconscious one is the informal one, where your mother shows you how to cook and stuff like that. The formal one, the trainings in the Calabar, for example, the Calabar fattening room. But one thing that struck me was the fact that you said it's been mostly tailored towards the woman. And it just struck me that, yes, truly, whether informal or formal, most of the training that we've had has been really focused towards the women, directed towards men. The men were just as expected to assume that they knew about marriage, or they knew, okay, their responsibility was mainly bring money for food, and the way you've brought about the different phases in marriage, the romance phase, the sizing up, the reasoning together, the consolidation, and the reinvention phases has just been marvelous. If you don't know the phase that you are in, maybe I should tell you you're in the consolidation phase.
I think so.
I think you are in the consolidation phase. Because at least 3 kids are out of the house, remaining one, what else? But thank you so much for bringing and explaining to us the different phases of marriages and the different areas, because sometimes when we go into marriage, we expect that marriage will be the same way that it was, that romance feeling. And that's the first shock that we normally have, that this romance, it won't go on forever and ever. So please, if you have your questions, please write them down on the different channels that you're watching, and we'll get across to you. But one thing I want to ask, I will set the ball rolling by asking this question. What if someone doesn't want to change? You're in this phase, you started in the romance phase, and the person says, you know what, I want it to be romance all the way. what happens? How do you help the person? How, as a spouse, can you help the person say, you know, the marriage goes through different stages, and the person says, no, this is how I you know, this is the face I want, or this is how I am, and you must accept it.
Yeah, okay.
That's the question. Did you get it?
I do. Yeah, there's a Chinese proverb that says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the next best time is now. You say there are times the spouse cannot convince the husband, you know, to change or to be amenable, and that's the challenge we have with men, you know, going to see counselors, because we've been molded in a way, we've been taught in a way, we've been programmed in a way, you know, and it's going to take, you know, God and a lot of, you know, the programming, you know, for us to get men to begin to see things in this way. So it's the first thing is, look, the woman can also help the husband buy some books, you know, attend some programs, you know, marriage programs. Then there are some times when, you know, the man is sober. And at those sober moments, you know, you just chip it in. Very nicely too. Because the man has ego. And I guess we are talking of the man here. I remember one lesson I will never forget in my life. And I still thought of it today. You know, I mean, I learned from my wife. Women are intuitive. And so she entered the office one day. I was having a meeting. And after the meeting, she came to see me. And she said, oh, Dayo, I don't like the faces of these men. You know, I saw you, you know, holding this meeting with. And I said, what's wrong with them? I mean, I don't see anything with them. I mean, these are good people. And I said, but she complained. And I went ahead with that transaction. You know, that transaction, we lost millions. It was a family investment. We lost millions in that transaction. But she was so nice not to tell me, but I told you, you know. But then, lessons learned, you know. So again, you know, there's going to be those moments, you know, that you just have to slip it in for the man, you know, for him to see that, look, you know what, you are not the El Shaddai. We are all vulnerable. We all need to learn. We all need to move. We all need to shift, you know. Again, the honey on the moon will not be there, you know, all the time. So I think that.
Thank you. There's something you said, you know, and Mommy Mo noted it, and I want to ask a question about that. That there's nothing wrong with husbands and wife team to having different interests. Now you've described yourself and BC, you know, you're introverted. She's extroverted. You know, BC can have 1,000 people if you gave her the way, you know, in the house, you know. But how can husband and wife manage their different interests in that, in the sense that they become, you know, they allow each other space to do the things that, you know, they are interested in, and without rocking?
Yeah. Well, what I've seen is that we all have strengths. So what you think?
So much. Hello?
Hello?
Okay, I can. Yes, I can
So
hear you.
What you see, you know, as a minus, you know, from your spouse, is actually a strength for her. It depends on, you know, perception, you know, of either of the spouses. You know. But if you leverage her strength, you know, if all of you bring your strengths to the table, strength as in temperament, as in ability, reasoning ability, the two of you will form a team. You know. So, and the two of you will be better for it. Okay, let me give one or two examples. I said BC is an incurable giver. I had problem with that when we first got married. You know, because I mean, like they say, the buck, you know, I mean, stops on my table. So I'm struggling as a young person to gather finances, to pay school fees. Of course, she contributes to the school fees, to feed the family. Then she will tell you, oh, you know what? I gave this amount to this person, or I did this, or she just goes into a store and she comes home and say, oh, I saw this person at the store. And I asked, are you in school? The person said, I'm not in school. I said, oh, see me. And she started sponsoring the person. And I said, but how you do this? We should be managing the little we have. But later I realized that there was nothing I can do about it, except I want to break her. Then I realized that the family was being blessed tremendously because of our generous giving. And Bisi likes, like I told, I don't want to use the word strong-willed. I don't want to use the word.
One of my best tools also.
So
careful about the words.
But I'm very quiet. So we get to situations where we're in a meeting or want to put somebody in his place. Then I will decide not to talk. Then Bisi will do the talking. So at the end of that meeting or that conversation, the person will just walk away quietly. But if you are me, they know. People get away with a lot of things with me. So is that strength. So when it comes to where she's stronger, she plays that part. When it comes to where I'm stronger, I do a lot of research, for instance. And Bisi, she doesn't like too much academic work. I like too much academic work. And I wanted to encourage her to take her master's. And she said, I don't just like this reading. I said, okay, go, don't worry. I was going to support you. So while she was reading, I was also reading, help her with some research and help her with everything. At the end of the day, like the Yorubas will say, I try to interpret it literally, but that's what I used to tell her. He said, and then they adore you. That is to say, well, the pig will get to the market, but there's going to be a lot of discomfort and a lot of noise. But at least it will get there. So eventually she got a master's, with a lot of prayers and a lot of hard work, So, but with that support, and I remember so many times when she was in paid employment, actually I remember a particular occasion, she had a speaking engagement, which was very dear to her. And then she got a call that morning while preparing that she had to report at the office. So she was a little bit flustered. Oh, I've given these people, my word that I will be there. I'm on the flyer, they are waiting for me. So I told her, you know what, don't worry. I'm going to represent you. So off I went. It was a women's program. And I went to meet the convener. I said, Mother, this won't be here today, but I'm going to represent her. She was first shocked. She thought I was joking. When she settled down, I said, okay, are you sure? I said, yes. So she told me to sit, so I sat. So she got to the stage and said, well, it's Mrs. Adebayo, we've invited to speak, but she can't be here, but her husband will represent her. So there I was. I delivered the paper and people clapped and everybody was happy. So again, you have to make up for the weakness, of the other party. So you don't have to complain, this person is weak in this area, this person is weak in this area. What are you doing in that area? Be strong for her in the area she's weak. Let the woman be strong for the man in the area that is weak. That way you complement each other, and that way you form a formidable team, together. I hope I answered the question.
Thank you. Yes, you have. Thank you so much, Mr. Adebayo, for those answers. I don't know if Francis has any other questions to ask before I ask a final one. Yes, I have a question. It says, can you throw some kind of timeline mapping around the 4 stages? How long should each stage typically last? When should couples become worried that they might be staying too long in a phase?
Yeah, I try to run away from that. Because it depends on the maturity, of the spouses. You can be 10 years in marriage and you might not just be matured. you know. And so if, just like exams, if you pass that phase, you move on. If you don't pass, you repeat the class. So some people, they are having overtime, they are spending 7 years on a 3-year course, you know. So it depends on that understanding. So like they say, your morning is when you wake up, so to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's when you realize that, hey, we shouldn't be here. We should have moved on from this phase. You know, that is when you are qualified to that next phase. So it's I won't ascribe any timeline to it.
Okay. Okay. And then there was something you said that struck me, maybe because we're in the same, should I say, a lot of people might be in the consolidation mood. Now, you said that's a time when people tend to take themselves for granted. So what activities and what things do you think that couples in the consolidation move, maybe couples that have been married for 10 years plus, you know, what steps can they take to ensure that they don't suddenly wake up one day and say, I don't want to get married to you anymore? Because we're seeing a lot of marriages of old people, you know, people that have been long in marriage. Let's give an example, the Gates now, for example, 25 or 27 years. And, you know, you wonder one day they just wake up and say they're no longer interested in one another and they want to divorce. So what can couples do to ensure that they keep a marriage together, even though, you know, they after having been in it for quite a while?
Yeah, in parenting balance.
I hope you got the question.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
In parenting balance,
yeah,
we say love is spelled T-I-M-E, you know, time. And I thought that was only applicable to parenting. But it's, you know, universal. Couples at this stage must spend time together. You see, because the two of you have gone through a phase that has drained you emotionally, physically, financially. I mean, you've had to pay school fees, you are running, you know, here and there to get the children in school, to get them some sort of comfort. I mean, the woman has also, and the man have dedicated, you know, a substantial part of his time to training the children. You know, so you've been engaged at work. At that point, probably you're at the managerial level at work. So you spend so much time at work. So all these activities will have, you know, will have its bearing on your relationship as husband and wife. Because, you know, even when you want to be together or when you are together, you are not talking of matters that concern the two of you. You're either talking about the children, you are talking about work, you are talking, so you are not relating together. You know, you are talking about your parents, if your parents are still alive. You know, so you are at that point where, you know, you are being pulled on two sides. You are being pulled on one side by the children, you are being pulled on the other side by your parents. So when you get to this consolidation stage, what you should understand is that whether you realize it or not, the two of you have drifted apart, so to say. Of course, we are still in the same house. So it's a time when you now bring that consciousness back, you know, to fill that gap that has been occupied by the children, you know, other activities. And one of the ways to do it is to spend time together. Now, you know, you cut off, you know, from, and again, it's a conscious effort from other people. You go on vacation if you can. I mean, and it doesn't have to be expensive. You can go on local vacation. Yeah, if you can afford it, you can go on international vacation. You know, it's so refreshing sleeping together outside your home. You know, because there are so many things you've taken for granted when you are relaxed, when you're not thinking of, you just put the phone aside, you put your devices, you just throw it to one corner, you are just with yourself, with your spouse. So, I mean, you play those Ludo games that you used to do, or those words games you play, you know, you go on outing, you go can afford a cruise, you go on cruise, I mean, you go to the museum. All those things begin to bring memories back. It begins to spark, that love again. It ignites the love. So now you are pulling yourself back together. So, but if you allow it to degenerate at this stage, at this consolidation stage, and that's why you have people who are spend considerable time in marriage drifting apart, because again, they just discover that, the things that they enjoy together probably is work, and apart from that, I mean, all children, and when the children are gone, the conversation that they used to have, is centered around all these areas. So they just find out that there's nothing to talk about anymore. You're not talking about your health. You're not talking about her feeling. You're not checking on her. You're no more kissing. You're not more putting her on your laps. You're not more encouraging her. And that's a recipe for disaster. So, and that's why I said, look, we have to be conscious of it at this stage. We have to work at it. And that's the beauty of marriage education. Because again, if you're not in this phase yet, a phase will come like this. So again, you just put it in your diary that, look, at this point, I have to be more deliberate, about my spouse.
Thank you so much. I'm coming. Thank you so much. Okay, I'll allow Francis to ask the next question before we round up. When we just have about 5 minutes left. So Francis can ask the next question and then we'll round up. That's my co-moderator for this session.
Thank you very, very much, sir. Thank you for explanation and all that so far. It's really, really. I have one question here, sir. It said, what if one spouse is ready to stretch and grow, but the other does not care? How can the situation be managed? Because I believe the transition to the next stage is underpinned by growth. If you can just throw more light on this in less than 2 minutes, I will be glad.
Yeah, if one party is ready to move to the next stage, is that what you're saying? And the other is not ready?
Yes, and the other is not.
Yeah, no one party can move to the next stage without the other. So you either drag yourself down or you succeed. So what you can do, is to help that spouse. Like I said, we are all work in progress.
Sure.
So if you know better than that spouse, I mean, you can buy books. You can, if there are movies on that area of marriage education, I mean, you can watch together. You can seek help of counselors. You can talk to Mommy Mo, for instance. So, I mean, we are planning a session with her very soon. So let me give her advance notice. So I mean, so you can be guided. But one party cannot move to the next class, without the other.
That would not be fine. That would be fine. Thank you very, very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. That is it for Mr. Dayo. Thank you very, very much, sir. Session was.
Sorry. Before we leave, there's just one more question on the YouTube channel, and I just think we just have time to answer it. And let me just read it. It says that does the support during a partner's weak moment matter? A partner's weakness that keeps repeating itself. Should that be handled? And that will be the last question.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hello. Yes. Okay, it says, does the support during a partner's weak moment matter? A partner's weakness that keeps repeating itself, how should that be handled? So if you have a partner that keeps on repeating the same thing that is detrimental to the union, how do you handle that?
Yeah, like I said, we are all work in progress. If you can help that partner, depending on that weakness, you can. I mean, you can build a support system around them. If you know some, depending now, I don't even know what that weakness is, but if you can in your personal capacity helping, you can. So it doesn't matter the number of times. I know again you'll be disappointed in him again or in her again and again. She repeats the same mistake, but the focus should not be on the number of times. The focus should be on the fact that, these things can work. I mean, this marriage can work. We can make it work together. So you are not concerned about the many times. I think the Bible says 7 times shall the man fall or something. So so I mean, just know that your spouse is work in progress. And you pray about it. Really, there are some creative ways, that we can help ourselves out of some of these seeming weaknesses. This is a lot better, and I'm a lot better in this relationship. So what we termed as weaknesses before, of course, we've been able to work our way around it. We've been able to learn, from each other. We've been able to give each other that support. I know some of our triggers, so you can know some of the triggers too for your spouse. So there are sometimes, even if it's spouse that gets there, and there are sometimes when you are talking to your spouse and say, "Hey, you started again. You are getting there." I mean, that's a trigger for him. So he's trying to tell you, look, you are getting to that point where you drive into the edge. So you better retreat from getting there. So again, there are so many ways we can do. But like I said, you should seek the help of a counselor, if you must.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dayo Adebayo, for all the enlightening session that we've had with you. Thank you so much for the words, for being very open with us and telling us some of your secrets. It's been a wonderful session, and we're very grateful and glad to have had you.
Thank you.
Please send our greetings to your lovely wife and the fantastic four. And thank you. And we would call upon you from the Right Fit Academy from time to time. So that's advance notice too. Thank you.
Thank you. It will be my pleasure to answer the call.
Thanks. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be handing over to my moderator, Mr. Francis, to take us on to the next session.
Wow. That was really, really enlightening. As Mr. Adebayo was talking, I was writing. Like I have like 3 pages already. That was really, really enlightening. Thank you very much, Mr. Adebayo. Thank you very much, sir. All you shared with us, the secrets, and all of that. So we're moving on to the next one right now. We have Mr. and Mrs. Dima Nebu Wombi. I'll just read their profile. Dima and Nebu Wombi have earned themselves Queen and King of Happiness as they unshamefully rock their happiness and help others do the same. Dima, she's a certified positive psychology coach, currently serves as the Director of Studies at the Institute of Family Engineering and Development, and is committed to raising competent family life practitioners for Africa. Nedu, Mr. Nedu is an active entrepreneur, mentor, young entrepreneur-minded men to build thriving businesses. Dima and Nebu Wombi co-authored a book. It's called The ABC of Intentional Parenting: How to Love, Lead, and Influence Your Child with Ease, which many of its readers club, the Parenting Bible. So call it the Parenting Bible. So they offer marriage and family coaching, leveraging the architecture of intentional happiness framework. Their signature solutions are 30 Days of Bliss Marriage Mentoring Program and Intentional Couple Weekend Gateway, meaning they have a framework whereby a program called the 30 Days of Bliss Marriage Mentoring Program. Okay, they are raising 4 children with whom they are leaving their family legacy behind of raising happy families. So it will be a pleasure for us to make welcome Mr. and Mrs. Ming. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma.
Good afternoon, Francis. How are you?
I'm doing very fine. Wow. It's nice to have you on the platform. Good afternoon, sir. It's nice to have you on the platform.
Thank you.
You're very, very much welcome, sir. So, sir, we're looking at marriage education, the release of it. So, and from your experience as a couple together these years, can you just enlighten us on the concept of marriage education, how to make it blissful as a couple?
Okay, thank you for having us. Congratulations to Right Fit Marriage Academy and Madam Mo, Madam Mo, for giving us this platform and privilege to share our own experience, our thoughts, and our lifestyles in this platform. To be very frank with you and to be honest with the whole idea of having a marital bliss starts from your personal definition of marriage. What does marriage mean to you personally? And we all have our conceptions and perceptions about marriage, and what we're taught marriage is from the church or from the mosque or from our cultural background. But more importantly, from the depth of your heart, what does marriage mean to you? Because what marriage means to you is what you are going to live for, will be what you will live out. And it's important in the marriage education, the definition is not a generalized concept like that. It must be something from your heart, because whatever you agree and define is what you are going to actually bring into the marriage plans, into the marriage proper, and into the marriage living. So marriage education is learning the skills, the attitudes, the behaviors that allow you flourish, enjoy a fruitful, loving, and flourishing marriage. And which are like the first speaker said, there is the traditional way, and also there's a structured way. But whichever way you are learning, it must fit into the idea of the vision of the kind of marriage you want to live by and you want to live out. Because each couple has a different outcome, a different approach, and a different style. So it has to be a personalized idea, a personalized vision, and a personalized goal.
Okay, thank you everyone for having us. And like Nedum has already said, the ball rolling, we're talking about marriage education, a way to marital bliss. And like he said, what does marriage mean to you? I want to also look at it from this angle. The topic, when we say marital bliss, is important. We're not just saying marriage education is a way to marriage. We're saying marriage education, a way to marital bliss. I can hear myself. I'm wondering what's happening. Is it from here?
You can go on, man. You can go on.
Okay. So when you say bliss, what does bliss mean? Bliss means, if you look at bliss, you're looking at happiness, you're looking at joy, you're looking at contentment. So if we're saying that marriage education is a way to marital bliss, we're saying that there is a way to educate ourselves about marriage that helps us to enjoy a happy, joyful, content marriage. So that's where we'll starting this conversation today. And I like to always, I'm hearing someone say good afternoon, Ma, but I will just go ahead. So long as you can hear me, just let me know you can hear me.
We've muted the person, so please go ahead.
Okay, all right. So I want to say, we want to start from that aspect to say, what is marital bliss not? So that there is no misconception of what are we educating ourselves to get. So I'll take it, Nedum will also share, and we'll do it together because that's how we do life.
Yeah.
Okay. So marital bliss is not what I choose to call happyology. Like you are in a marriage where you are not going to have sorrows, you are not going to have quarrels, you are not going to have misunderstanding. That's not what marital bliss is. Because many times when you talk of bliss, people are like, go and be talking that your thing, bliss for where in this Nigeria is a scam. Nobody can enjoy marital bliss. It takes from what he said. What is your concept of marital bliss? It's not the absence of challenges. It's not the absence of struggles. Okay, so if it's not the absence of that, what else is marital bliss not? And it's not the absence of pain. Like this young man, there have been days that he's probably, how would I put it, serious mind will want, so like pressures, the daily pressures of life, even the pressures of doing life with somebody who is at his, look at him now, you see how his face is serious, me, I'm playing with my white frames and all of that. So some days he will be like, you should have given me notice. No, why you're just telling me this now? Is it today that you knew about it? Is it today it was due? Probably I've known about it for like 3 weeks. I'm like, oh, I'll tell him. No, you can't just be telling me now. So marital bliss is not the absence of that. And maybe Nedu, you should speak to marital bliss not being a perfect marriage.
Yeah, when you are doing relationship with a person, especially in a marriage relationship, you are going to face a lot of challenges, a lot of conflicts, either personal conflicts that arise within your home, conflicts from your in-laws, conflicts with your friends, conflicts with your career. So like she said in the beginning, the journey to marital bliss does not exempt all these ups and down challenges, but how you turn those challenges into moments of growth, development, and how you also restructure the pathway, because your initial pathway may not always work all the time. But like when you are driving, you always navigate the potholes, you mind your brakes, you speed. So some of those moments may be the real moments you are going to face. But the skills that you have learned through marriage education will give you the opportunity to turn around the events for good.
Okay, so now that we've established what marital bliss is not, let's now look at what is marital bliss so that we can know the journey that the education is taking us to. For us as the king and queen of happiness, we recognize that marital bliss, which is enjoying happiness in a marriage setting, is you as a couple enjoying, that key word is there, enjoying a flourishing, satisfying, and meaningful marriage. So there are 4 key components. Marriage is to be enjoyed. And contrary to what people said to us when we were getting married, enjoy this, this your honeymoon phase, so because soon things will return to normal. You will now start living as brother and sister. We didn't want to live as brother and sister. I mean, I have a brother already, so why am I finding another brother? I wanted to live with a husband. And so the concept of enjoying marriage was important to us. And even while we were dating, which is why I am so happy for the single people or people in relationship that are watching this, and not just for the married people, we intentionally decided that our marriage is not going to lack the enjoyment and the wanting to be together and all of that from the onset. And that was how marriage education led us to the journey that we've been living for 17 years. So marital bliss is also enjoying that flourishing. And for me, the key thing for the marriage education has done for us is the knowing, not the not having the challenges, not the not disagreeing, not the not having the struggles, is having that sense of efficacy that this challenge, we can handle it. And not just, and so it's coming for me 3 ways that we want to look at this marriage education. Your mindset as a person, as a couple, your tool set that you have at your disposal in real time, and your skill set. That is not that the challenges will not come, but for you to flourish in your marriage, how empowered you feel that I know what to do, I can handle it, I can think about it. I have the tools to guide me, is why you should continue in this journey of marriage education. And I like what Barrister Dayo said. He says the education is continuous. Okay, the education is continuous. So let's look at the things that we need to keep educating ourselves. And for Nedum, I'd like you to speak to this. When we say education, for our experience has not just been to have information, like I know this, I know that, but it is how the information can change you. I think it was Aristotle that says that education is the replacement of a closed mind with an open mind. So maybe I want you to speak to marriage education as being mindset change, skill sets growing, and tool set, and how it helps to make marriage more enjoyable.
Yeah, marriage is not just the information. Through my consultation with a lot of couples, I found out that a lot of couples knows a lot. They read a lot, they attend seminar. But when I check their capacity to enforce their learning opportunities into practical steps that will enhance a flourishing marriage, I see a gap. So that was one. Two, the information you give about how to go through the pathway to a marital bliss is, first of all, changing your perception, changing how you think, challenging the stereotypes of gender roles and gender participation and how you fit into the dream of your marriage. And I give you an example. I'm a typical Igbo man, born and brought up in Anambra State, and where the man is the God, the Lord, and to be worshipped. This is the formation, this is the orientation, this is the learning I grew up being modeled to represent as a husband. But to enjoy a fruitful, a happy marriage, and more importantly, consistent happiness, this mindset cannot bring that result. This mindset cannot help me achieve that. So the important thing for me to learn about pathways and skills is to, first of all, work on myself. Why? I need to change my perception, my thinking, and my approach. I need to change a lot of things that I think will not work. One, I'm a sole believer of gender equality, and which will surprise a lot of people. I don't strictly believe that I am the Lord. I believe that we are equal partners in this journey. And I have embraced this principle and I'm applying on a consistent basis. So if I'm going to have the knowledge change, cognitively, I have to believe this concept that I want a wife and a friend as a partner, and not a man to be served, and not a Lord to be worshipped. So, because I want to play, I want to sincerely play with my partner. I want to play like a child with my partner. So, being a melancholy, coming from that such background, all the learning would not make sense if I think the same way and I don't think differently.
Okay, so thank you for that. And I just wanted to add to that, that these were part of the conversations that we had even before getting married. So that's why I keep saying the single ones, God bless your heart for being here. And this reminds me of how, and to say that the marriage education leading you to marital bliss is not all rosy. I remember when we were dating and we actually got into trouble one day that we went to Pastor Bimbo Odukoya's Fountain of Life Church for one of our programs. Somehow along the line, we lost our way. By the time we got back home, I got back home, it was late. And my mother was like, where are you coming from? I said, we went for single and married. Single and married with who? What are you? Is it how your father and your mother, how many single and married did your father and mother attend before they got married? You know what? But we're reaping all of the benefits of that intentional marriage education. Back in the days of Bimbo Dukoya, it was cassette tapes. So our messages were in tapes. We bought 2 copies of each. So all of the messages that Pastor Bimbo has preached. 2 sets. I went back to school, University of Ilorin, with my set. Nedum was in Lagos. We will listen. Then when we are talking on the phone, we will discuss, oh, what struck you, what she said, or what don't you agree with that? How are we? as much as the kind of music that was going to be played in our home, the arrangement of how we wanted our dream house to be, what was part of all of that. Why? Because we needed to talk about how we can progressively do marriage together. So that is the beginning of the journey. So even whilst you are in it, what are the other things that you should continue to educate yourself about? And we're looking at this from the framework of the architecture of intentional happiness, with which we are living this marital bliss journey. And we're also supporting other couples. So the first one is the education that you have to get is continuous. And what is this education aimed to help you do if you are going to enjoy marital bliss? First is an education that supports you in being clear. So Nedum had already established the education can be whichever way, formal, informal, structured, unstructured, whatever way it is, but let it be helping you to advance in these 5 ways. One is being clear of who you are, why you are, and how you want to be. So one critical question that we always want to find out is, first of all, why did we get married to ourselves, and why are we still married? So Nedum, do you want to speak to being clear of who you are, why you are, and more importantly, how you want to be, which are your values and the vision you have for marriage?
To be clear in a certain thing, to be precise about this dream marriage, to be precise about the dream goals. Can you describe it vividly in a pictorial form when you see that dream? Can you describe it to your partner? So it's not the idea, this is what, can you describe it? Can you feel it? Can you see it? If it's a movie, can you play it? Can you act it? Because when you are not so clear of what the outcome should be, you have a challenge when the pathway to that journey is not direct, or it's not coming clear to you. So for instance, there are times that challenges show up, and the first thing that shows up in our mind, or in my mind, is these circumstances and this way we are going cannot resort to this dream. So that is where the discipline comes. It's like you are going to Onitsha and you find out that you are on your way to Ibadan. You don't continue going to Ibadan. You already found out you're on the wrong way. The signpost has already told you 100 kilometers to Ibadan. The honorable thing to do is to revise. It doesn't matter how long you have gone, you revise back and find your way on the route to Onitsha. This is how the whole thing works. You must be clear what the journey or the destination looks like. It has to be very, very clear to both of you.
Okay, thank you for that. And then so when you're continuously on that path of learning and growing together, you want to also, like he said, be clear of how you want to be as a couple, which are your values. And yes, you will have your personal values, you will have your marriage values, so to say, that guides the things that you do together. And like I like to say to people, irrespective of what we say, the way we live our life actually shows us what our values are. Definitely. Okay, so that is an ongoing conversation that you need to keep having. So second, education. And so any way that would help you to get this, become clearer with your vision, is an education you should seek. Become clearer with your values is an education you should seek. How you can make sure values change. Like I was having, I think I wrote something when the news of Bill and Melinda broke, and I was saying that it's important when you're being clear not to have had this conversation 10 years ago or at the beginning of your marriage, but to have it ongoing, because your spouse is changing, your spouse's values are changing depending on the person's expanding concepts of the world. So it's not enough to say, oh, when I married you, you were not like this. This was not the values you told me about when we were dating. The man, we're 18 years in marriage by July. Definitely, Nedum's frame of reference, life circumstances has granted him learning, and everything has opened his eyes further. So it's not enough for me to say, when we're dating, you told me that your number one value was excellence. Now he's saying his number one value is service. No, that's not what you told me. That means I'm telling him don't evolve. And so long as we're in life, we'll keep evolving. That's why the education is continuous and the conversation must be ongoing. So the second kind of education you should be interested in is education that keeps you being aware. Now, we cannot overflog this. We're currently writing a book, ABC of Intentional Marriage, and it just struck me when I said something in the book that you are not married. I'm not married to just this Nedum I'm saying. I'm married to his beliefs. Mm-hmm. So if I don't know his beliefs and patterns, we will have itches continuously on this path to marital bliss. So we need to be aware of our beliefs, what I call our set ways. What are your beliefs and your patterns? And Nedum, probably you should speak to that and how it can interfere on this journey to marital bliss.
Yeah, the part of awareness is, first of all, your ongoing personal discovery of your temperament, your personalities, and what forms how you think and how you perceive the things around you. Like I said, I'm a melancholic role, and I am very, very organized. You
see how you said it. You not just organized,
very organized. You don't just show up. I don't like surprises. You must tell me what you are doing, when, how, so I can plan. And I don't like coming late. This is the typical me. I get offended when you show up late or tell. In fact, it pisses my mind. And definitely, if I go on with this style of this personality in the raw form of my formation, we're going to have a serious conflict. So part of awareness is downplaying this raw personality of mine to try to work on this personality and to improve on it. So I have to grow a lot of patience in my ability to wait and knowing that my partner is not me. In fact, when I wanted to marry, I went to get a puppy. And the reason why I get a puppy is that I want to be patient with myself. And imagine a single person living in a house with a puppy, it will mess everywhere out. So the highly organized person has now to learn how to clean the puppy poo-poo, the way we help the puppy to be structured on how to and where to do certain things. This, I have to intentionally begin to grow this patience, because the person who is going to come in may not in any way be a perfect copy of who I am. So the awareness is that my spouse is different. My spouse is going to approach issues different. I have to come to the belief, the internal belief, the strong faith that this is a team member. And if we think, believe, and see things in the same way, that means she's irrelevant to the union. So that is the part of where awareness comes. And not just awareness of your past, also awareness of your present, and also what is shifting and changing for you as a person and for your spouse, and together as a team.
Okay, thank you for that. I just wanted to add to that in the part of Nedum not liking lateness. If we have everly carried face in this marriage 50 times, 49%, 49 of the 50 times was about lateness and all of that. And my people, I am still struggling with this internal clock in my brain that does not seem to know.
We live in different time zones, even when we are living together.
Anyway, to speak to what someone said about weaknesses, and so one of the places that Nedum will not be able, like, it drives him crazy going late to. He can manage to go late anywhere, but going late to church can make him go mad. So what are we doing these days? He gets ready to go to church. I'm still there, maybe doing one thing. Well, let me not say doing one thing or the other, so that it's not looking like I'm doing something important and serious. Just shall be myself. The man will carry himself jejely to his church. Me, when I finish, I carry myself jejely to church. So he can be in church 10. Yeah, okay.
And the funny thing, we have been to church because of him trying to want to go to church together always in the same car. And I realized that I hate running into the church because the service is about to begin. And because I'm driving, sometimes you now start looking for space. They have gone down. They're already in the church. And before you get the space to park and come in, I'm standing outside the church waiting for the time they will allow latecomers to come in. For me, it was so embarrassing. And I made up that this will not happen to me again. So once I set the time, 15 minutes after 6, 15 minutes to church, 5 minutes to drive to church, to park, and to be seated in the right position I want to sit. We did not find it funny. We've not resolved that to continually happen, but we have chosen how we preserve our peace. Now, if you are ready, go. And she's ready, show up. Everybody is okay. I'm okay. Okay.
Okay, so it was important I said that because you don't necessarily want yes, you're helping your spouse to improve, which is the education we're talking about. However, you will not allow your spouse to drag you to the place where you are not comfortable with, that also messes up your sense of well-being and the kind of life you want to live. So going to church differently does not stop the marital bliss journey. Yeah. So when we finish, we come back, we continue our dancing on TikTok, but we have resolved it. So what other education do you need? Education that supports you to be strategic. And I think this is, all of the education we're talking about is important, but this, like for me, is the hinge that holds everything, because it just sums up the intentionality of getting the kind of marriage that you want. Like, you need to be strategic with your experiences, strategic with your harmony. So there are about 12 dimensions of life that as a couple you should be interested in, that would help you to experience marital bliss. But I won't go into that because I'm looking at our time. We have 1 minute left. Okay, so you need to be looking at your marriage per se. You need to look at your family. You need to look at your other relationships. You need to be paying attention to your finance, to your health, to your emotional well-being, to the quality of life.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello? I think we've lost them.
Wow. Probably network issues.
Yeah, we've lost them. They've gone off.
I'm sure they will join back very shortly.
Yeah.
Okay, they're back.
My network has thrown us out, but then
network is back.
So being strategic with your experiences, and I think I'm going to just speak a little to that before we have 2 more things, and I'm hoping we'll be able to just quickly wrap it up even as our time is going. That what it takes to enjoy marital bliss is understanding that emotions are not created equally. Negative emotion, positive emotions are all part of the dynamics of a marriage. However, negative emotion will dampen your marital bliss experience, but positive emotion will increase it. And we know that life is not going to wait for you to be having an overflow of positive emotion. So being strategic is you as a couple intentionally inviting more positive emotion to your relationship. Because we know from research that, and let's even validate it as we're here, when you feel any positive emotion, not even happy, excited, joyful, relaxed, calm, what do you typically want to do? And what does that do to your brain, if we're going to bring neuroscience to it? That when we're experiencing positive emotions, we feel broadened. We want to experience more of it. And it activates our rational brain that is responsible for emotions regulation, critical thinking, decision making. So if you're not intentionally going for experiences that bring positive emotions for you in your marriage, you will still have to suffer or deal with not making decisions together, not thinking critically, even individually and collectively, and the other things that come with it, which is why intentional, that's why we like to say that happy marriages do not happen by chance. They are built intentionally by couples who play, learn, and grow together. So I can't talk much, I can't talk too little about that. So what education do you need there? You need to create your routines. What are the routines that we're going to do in this marriage? What are the rituals we're going to do? And what are the reminders? Maybe Nedum, you want to add something to that?
To add to what she said in a few minutes, we do something regularly every year. We meet 4 times every year for 3 or 4 days in a resort, thinking about the next 3 or 4 months. We do that repeatedly 3 or 4 times in a year, and not just as together with us, not just two of us as a couple. We do it also with our children. Our last child is 10 years old, so they are also part of this family, and in some extent affects our living as couple. So we do this with them consistently for 3 or 4 days every quarter. Why is this important? To plan, to review, and to replan. So nothing will just happen if you don't take effort to think, to re-strategize, know what is working, know what is not working, and also to learn how the things will improve efficiently and effectively. Nothing happens until you make it happen.
Thank you. So the 4th kind of education you should be getting is education that supports you to be flexible with your thinking. Just like Nedum ended, nothing happens until you make it happen. And I like to extend that to even the experience of bliss.
Yeah.
Whether you're experiencing bliss in marriage or not, it's as a result of your thinking of the circumstances and the expectations and the rules that you put around marriage. So I just want to put that in a nutshell. So, and then like Shakespeare said, nothing is either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So if you have that education of how to be flexible with your thinking, what do you do when this man becomes like, when he leaves you and goes to church? How do you reframe it in your mind so that you know that, okay, he's preserving his sanity, I'm also preserving mine, and then we meet to do the things that hold us together, okay? So lastly, it's education that supports you to being leveraged. Nobody builds a happy marriage in isolation. And there are 3 levers that we use and we also believe can support you in your marriage. The first is leveraging on your superpower. Everybody comes into marriage with a set of strengths that is unique to you and that, speaks to your core, that even when you are navigating difficult moments, if you leverage on those strengths, it can support you to thrive even better. The second is the super network. You want to talk about how other people can support you.
Super network is the friends and the associates you relate with on a daily basis. What connects you is your values. And these networks of friends and associates are critically important. These are the people you have outside yourself, because we need people to grow, we need people to flourish, we need people to enjoy. So it's not only both of you, but you need friends. And this network is also those you are learning from. They are also your models and your mentors and your mentees. This connectivity gives us an expanded awareness to know that life is not just only about 2 of us. It's about us and also our community, which includes your contribution, your legacy living, people you want to pour out your learnings, your learnings, your experiences, so that they too can also grow and enjoy a blissful relationship.
Which is why what Mommy Mo is doing in the Right Fit Marriage Academy, it's amazing, because that is support that you can get. I've moderated a Facebook group before, and I know how difficult it was for me. So I know that Mommy Mo has put in a lot of work to the Right Fit Marriage Academy work. I'm just hoping that as many people that are in that community understand how they can leverage that community to build the marital bliss that they desire. What I want to talk about is what education are you continuously getting in bringing God. You know, people talk about, oh, the third man in a relationship is God. But aside from going to church together, what else are you doing to build spiritual intimacy? Maybe you want to speak to some of the things that we do to build spiritual.
The things we do to build spiritual intimacy, also have a program of what we do as a couple and as a family, and we also do as individual. And I give you an example. We could have a retreat based on spirituality, and we'll choose a topic. We have either a moderator or we use a book or a manual, and we share how do we deepen our intimacy in a spiritual form. And for this year, we are looking at how do we allow the Holy Spirit to influence us deeper as individual and as a couple. And that's one of our spiritual retreat this year, which will coming up in some few weeks to come. And for the children, we also do the same thing. How do we pray together? How do we pray individually? And all these spiritual powers is what that also sustain our physical and our physical lives. We can't take away the spirituality. It's a core of our being. And as faith believers, we don't joke with it. It gives us strength for all seasons and for all circumstances. And that is part of what will be our spirituality.
Thank you very, very, very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ma, for this wonderful teaching session. We are so glad to have you guys. Thank you very, very, very much. The spiritual intimacy, talking about the spiritual intimacy, the two sets, the mindsets required for a blissful relationship. It's very, very, very wonderful. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
I want to ask a question. Like Mr. Nedu said, when he's melancholic, you know, and he had to buy a pet to make sure that even when everywhere is scattered, to just teach him patience and all of that. But I want to use this to ask for probably some singles here that are watching right now, probably in a relationship and all of that. When what do you do when your spouse is not when it comes to conflict resolution, your spouse is not getting it, is not getting you. You have been saying something consistently to him or her, and is not getting you. I believe you guys went through the same stage before you got married. So how were you able to cope with that? And how were you able to bring out a solution that at the end of the day, you were able to work together amicably?
First, you have to realize that your spouse is different, and her growing up or her experiences are different, and how he sees things are different. That understanding allows you to be patient, to know that some goals will not be met at the same pace with you. Secondly, there must be love. Love in the essence that if it's what you can do alone, go on with it. Marriage is not a 50-50, 70, 30%. Marriage is 100%. So there are times you carry it, which may be for a long term. That is what marriage is about. So it's not about if this person don't do this, I won't do this. There's a time you carry all the solution, and even when your spouse is not cooperating, you are doing it not just for the moment, you are doing it for the future, which makes you begin to believe, and also believe that marriage is for a long time. You will never or may never agree always at the same thing. But if you can believe that all you are doing is for the best of the marriage, you will be able to accommodate your spouse, build tolerance and build resistance, and more importantly, show love. Love means being patient to wait until your partner comes on board.
Minister laughing. Mommy is laughing. We need your contribution, ma.
And to add to what you just said, and this is often the part that most people do not like to reflect on. Yeah. And it is that, and I'm picking it from what you said about you've been communicating this and it's like your partner is not getting it and all of that. It's important for us to know that your communication to your partner is effective when the message has been passed. So the test of your communication to a large extent is what your partner receives. And many a times we find out that couples want to communicate something, but you're communicating it in a way that you force the person not to receive the information. So I say, for example, anybody who feels attacked, who feels criticized, who feels blamed, who feels put on the spot, the most natural thing you want to do is to defend yourself. So you want to first of all ask yourself, how am I communicating this to my partner? That is fundamental. And it's important that we recognize as couples that your right to communicate how you feel is also your partner's right to be communicated to kindly. We always forget that. Like, I want to say my mind. I'm saying it as it is. I want to speak my mind. Yes, speak your mind. Nobody is saying don't speak your mind. But know that as you're showing yourself compassion by speaking your mind and not bottling what you want to talk about, reserving your mind also that does not take away your partner's right to be spoken to with compassion. So we come to talk about the things that we facing in marriage, and we're criticizing, we're blaming. You are always doing this. We generalize. You don't do this. Forget about the person. Express your feelings. I feel so when so happens. That way you don't put the person on the defensive by attacking. And sometimes we want to also reserve that the things you're saying is your interpretation of the event and not necessarily what happened. Because when something happens, you tell yourself a story so that your brain can make sense of it. Have you not been in circumstances where you told your partner something and then the person shares with you why I did it and you're like, oh, that's not what I thought. So it's important that we bear that in mind.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very, very much. We have a question here from our audience on YouTube. It says, what if one party is totally unwilling to get the right education or seek help? What if one party is unwilling to get the right education or seek help, like is resistant to being helped? You get. So how does one go about that? So you can start.
Okay. I think this will be a question for somebody who's already married and who do not do either preliminary investigations before starting the marriage. You're already in there. And it can be so frustrating when you know what to do, where to go, and your partner is resisting and is uncooperative. I will always say, how do you speak to your partner, which is just part of what we answered. Sometimes when our partner disagree with our ideas, most of the times we want to fight. We want to stop speaking and communicating. We want to be alone. And how would that help?
Silence.
That is where building rapport is critically a skill that you will learn as a couple. Can you allow your couple to have the space, maybe for a week, maybe for a month, to think about it, to process? We process things differently. And perhaps it might be our attitude is frustrating the learning or the cooperation of your spouse. You're like, if you don't agree, I must force you to agree. And you develop all kinds of defense mechanisms to coerce the person into that agreement. That's very unfair. So when your spouse says, I'm not attending, I'm not learning, I'm not reading, you simply show love. I'm willing to still love you even when you don't cooperate. And perhaps that may change the trick.
Okay, let me add something to that. Because this is one thing that comes up a lot in marriage coaching. Oh, I'm interested in this journey, but my spouse does not want to show up, and my spouse may not be interested in the education. So I will say three things. First of all, change starts with one person. And this you may have to sit to really get this deep down. Many a times we are looking at the marriage education we need to get, or the coaching we need to get, or the intervention we came for, so that our partner will change. take the focus away from your partner. Put the focus on you. What do I need to, what mindset? Remember, I said the education should be doing 3 things for us: the mindset, the skill set, and the tool sets that we're getting. So in this particular challenge, what mindset do I need to have? Me, not my partner. And the mindset has to also include what mindset can I embody even living with a partner who is not yet at my level of growth, or who is not yet able to take in the education, because there's a mindset to living with that kind of person. Mm-hmm. And if you acquire the mindset, you will live peacefully, even in the, that's why I say you can be happy in an unhappy situation if you know the mindset of resilience and the tools for healing that can support your well-being. So if your partner is not doing, do your own. And part of the doing your own that you do is being able to learn, how do I live in this seeming circumstance, and taking the personal responsibility for first yourself. And then all of that will empower you to know, how do I want to be in this relationship? And of course, if it becomes toxic, then you want to also even grow your power to know, do I want to remain in the relationship, or am I going to call it quits and get the help that I need?
Thank you very, very, very much, Ma. Thank you, Ma. Okay. Thank you very, very much for that.
I have some questions there, if you're ready to take. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a question for I think Mr. Nedum. It says, I have 2 questions actually, and I'll just take them because time is far spent. It says, could you please highlight any challenges of living with a melancholy? I think this is for your wife. Any strengths, and do you share the same personality? That's for, I think, Madam. And then for Mr. Nedum, it says, for an Igbo man, you seem to have you seem to have been really, really intentional about marriage from the beginning. This is quite strange in my experience. What major factor or things led you to start seeking? So could we just quickly answer those questions before we round up?
Okay, talking about the things, I think the first question was directed to me about the peculiar challenges of living
with the melancholic. Yes, melancholic.
Okay, all right, thank you. There are lots of peculiarities about different temperaments. So what I would say to this question is, don't get yourself fixated on the challenge. The challenges are there, but don't get yourself fixated on that. Oh, this person is a melancholy. This is what, that could be your dominant or your partner's dominant personality. However, we need, that's the education we're talking about. We need to evolve as a people in all of the skills. So even like Nedum is melancholy, one of the challenges that people experience with melancholies is that because they are they have a tendency, I like to put it that way, they have a tendency to be critical first of themselves and of others because of the high standards that they set for themselves. So they easily get offended when status quo is shifted or when the rules are not followed. Secondly, they internalize things, they have that tendency to internalize things a lot, so they could find themselves struggling with letting go of hurts, you know, and being very vengeful. So those are some of the challenges that you could get with them. And then that having to see yourself being on your toes, trying to, you know, meet up with their level of perfectionism and all of that. But I don't want you to bug yourself with that. Understand that this person is also on that education of recognizing the aspects of his personality that could be sabotaging his dream. Remember, the focus is the goal. So if we're saying this is the kind of marriage we want, and you see that your vengeful spirit tendency is not going to take you to the goal, it's not my work to change your vengeful spirit. You get to work, take personal responsibility, because you also want that dream. And this is affecting us. But I'm able to say, hey, guy, I don't like this. you know. So I really do not like people looking at personality as, oh, this is how the person is, so what are the challenges? It's about knowing that it's a self-awareness tool that just helps you to know the tendencies that this person can have. And whilst you're on that tendency, you are taking personal responsibility and improving yourself. I'm taking personal responsibility, and we're sharing how we're growing in the journey.
So can we
it's important, like I said in the beginning, what's your goal for marriage? And one of the things I realize is that the advices I get from my parents, from the people around me who are the core traditional Igbo men, is that they are not happy people in their marriage. So why will I take a strategy and a system and advice for somebody whose outcome is not satisfactory, even to him? That's the number one thing, which means there's an error. There's something that is not working in their advice, in their system, and in their processes. So, which means if I follow the same pattern, I'm going to still arrive at the frustrated, angry, bitter marriage they experience, which means that is not working. So the next question is, what else? What are the options? And that led me to a lot of reading, a lot of research. Are there people who have this idea, this goal in mind? And that led to the mind shift. And that's one of the things we must critically understand. Our goals will shape our behavior. Our end goal will shape our thinking. And once you are clearly and understand that outcome, whatever behavior that doesn't empower the process ought to change. The willingness to change it, the sacrifice to change it is the price you must pay. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I wish we had more time to speak with you. I must particularly commend the synergy I see between the both of you. You seem to, I can see the shift. You take this question, you take it, and it shows that really you are intentional and you're practicing what you do say and what you're doing. It shows. Thank you so much. With this session, we've come to the close of today's activities. We'd like to thank all our speakers, Mr. Debayo and the Nwobis, Dima and Nedum, will be for sharing their lives with us, sharing their thoughts and their perceptive, with us. And I won't do the final thanking. I'm going to hand over to Mommy Mo, but I would just like to say that thank you so much for sharing your time with us, for sharing from your experiences, and for interesting us, making us more interested in the things that you have talked about. I particularly did like the fact that you said that there was a particular word that you used, but I can't seem to get my hand on it. But I'll give the microphone over to Mommy Mo, who would take the vote of thanks and round up the activities for today. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tara and Francis, our moderators. Just give me one moment. This thing has a way that I need to be understanding. Well, I can be speaking while I'm trying to figure it out. I wanted to spotlight myself, but I'm not immediately able to do that right away. Just give me one moment. Okay, Francis or Jane. Okay, it's me. Oh, let's just go on. Boluwatiwi, please see if you can do. Thank you very much. That's where everybody knows that I'm an old school person. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dayo Adebayo. Thank you, Chinedu and Dima Nwobi. Thank you to everyone who is listening to us on YouTube. Today has been a wonderful day. I've already done a Thanksgiving dance after the first session. So I don't know what I'm going to do in this one now. I will think of what I'm going to do. But I'm so happy. I like that both Dayo and the Nwobis have highlighted for us that a life that is intentional Everybody who knows Modupe Ehirim knows that she's a let me do it by myself person. But my personal goal in 2021 is to learn how to collaborate with other people. So this anniversary event is my first attempt at collaboration. I will collect all the accolades that you give me. But when I finish collecting them, I would need to turn back to the 18 members of the Right Fit Marriage Academy who volunteered to be the planning committee. And sometimes I'm sharing this because this is what happens in marriage. And when they started coming up with the ideas that they had, those ideas were threatening to me as a person. They were threatening in the sense that these people were asking me to do things that was going to be taking me out of my comfort zone. But the principles that Dayo and the Nwobis have shared with us today, they're not just marriage principles, they're life principles. So I started saying to myself, these people too are in the Right Fit Marriage Academy. They want the Right Fit Marriage Academy to be showcased well. So what they're suggesting may be things that I'm not familiar and comfortable with, but it does not make them bad. And today we have had a successful event because I realized that people whose maps of the world are different from my own are not necessarily threatening. I've already said to somebody who is here with me that, hey, so this thing is not so difficult to do. I will be doing it more often. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you to all the members of the Right Fit Marriage Academy. Yoruba people have a saying, if you throw a party and you have nice venue and you cook good food and you did everything and you send out invitations and nobody comes, you cannot have a party. Yoruba people also say that if you have a community and you crown a king, if there are no people in that community, the king has no glory. What that means is that the anniversary that we are celebrating, the 5th anniversary of the Right Fit Marriage Academy, is not Mommy Mo's celebration. It's a celebration of all of you who have come out to say marriage is something that we should share. Just before we came on live, I was sharing something with Mr. Adebayo, and I'm challenging all of you who are listening to me today. If you have figured out how to do your marriage, please don't keep quiet. Talk about how you're doing it. What is happening in our community is that people who did not get it right are sharing their stories. And it is okay for them to share their stories, but they're not sharing the lessons they learned in it. And so our young people are afraid and they think that marriage is not anything they should venture near. I'm sure that for the many young singles and the young couples who have listened to this session and the first session, they have seen that people whose marriages are working, it is not that they don't face all of the regular issues. It is simply that, as Dimma and Chinedu have told us, they have the right mindset, they have the right tool set, and they have the right skill set. And that's what we should all aspire to. Thank you all very, 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 very much. YouTube allows us to do a number of things. Instagram allows us to do a number of things. But if you want to get the best of the Right Fit Marriage Academy, Facebook community, that's where you really want to be. Thank you all for joining us. At 5 p.m. today in our Facebook community, we'll be having a meet and greet. Me too, I'm folding my arms to see how meet and greets online is going to be. I've not experienced it before, so you want to join us. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, our guest speakers. We really, really appreciate you all. Thank you very, very much. Back to you, Tara.
So as Mommy Mo said, please come back at 5 o'clock today on the Right Fit Academy on Facebook, and we'll be meeting and greeting everyone as they come and conclude the activities for the 5th anniversary of the Right Fit Academy. Get
Right Fit Marriage Academy.
Right Fit Marriage Academy.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. It's been a wonderful session of learning, unlearning, and relearning. And I'm sure we've all had a lovely time. So see you later on in the evening. Okay. Thank you, everyone.